Night is coming. One by one the stars appear. Night is coming. And soon it will be time for stories. Long ago, storytellers invented magical stories about the sun, moon, stars, and the other great mysteries of the sky. The stories were not meant to explain these mysteries. Rather, they were told to help people pay attention to our world. Today, scientists use another way to help us pay attention to the mysteries of the sky. By observing, measuring, and predicting, they explain how the world works. And like the storytellers of old, today's scientists can lead us to better know and care for our world. Storytellers and scientists are today's Skytellers, for they both tell us about the sky. And though each tells a different kind of story, both help us to better know our world and ourselves. Night is here. Listen now. This is the time for stories.
Long ago, there were two cousins who were as close as sisters. When they grew into women and received the chin tattoos that said they could marry, many people watched to see which men would win the hearts of these strong, good-looking women. But these girls were not interested in any of the young men, for they were in love with the moon. Often they would go down to the beach and sit together on the sand waiting for the moon to rise. They would turn their kayak over and lean against it, talking and watching the moon cross the heavens. "He's so handsome," one would say. "Yes," said the other, "I wish he would come down here and we could marry." One night the moon drifted behind some clouds and all was dark. Just then the girls heard the sound of footsteps on the sand, and a young man appeared wearing a great mask of light on his face. "I'm the moon," he said. "I have heard you two talking. I need a wife. I will marry one of you if you will travel to my home." "But we have never been apart," cried one of the girls. "You must marry us both," said the other. And the young man agreed. "It's a long journey to my home," he said. "You must keep your eyes closed until we're there." The girls promised, and he lifted them into the air, resuming his walk in the sky. At first both girls kept their eyes closed, but finally one cousin grew impatient. She opened just one eye, and suddenly she was falling. She fell down, down, down to the sand on her beach. But the other girl kept her eyes closed, and when they arrived in the land of the sky, she and the moon were married. "My home is now yours," said the moon, "but you must never go into the room next to ours. Do not even lift the blanket that covers the door." And the young woman promised. At first she was very happy, for the moon was a kind and gentle husband. But there were no other people there, and her husband's travels were so strange. She never knew when he was leaving or how long he would be gone. Finally she grew lonely and bored, and she began to complain. "It's the way it has to be," said her husband. "It's my work." "Why can I not travel with you and share your work?" asked his wife. "It is too hard," said the moon. "Just be happy for the time we have." But she was not. One night, when her husband had left, she decided to go for a walk. Growing up, there was always work to be done and many hands to share it. Here there was only her husband, at least when he was home. She walked down a big trail, and at the end of it was another person, lying on the ground staring down into a hole. She was so happy to see someone, she began talking at once, but this person would not answer. She walked on and came to many more people, each looking through a hole in the ground, but no one would speak to her or even look at her, and finally she lost her patience. She began to poke one of the people with her foot. "Speak to me," she cried. "I'm lonely." The man lifted his face from the hole, and she saw he had one great glowing eye in the center of his forehead. "Don't bother me," he said. "I'm working." And she walked back very quickly to her house. When she entered her house, she saw the blanket covering the door to the room she had promised not to enter. She went over, lifted the blanket, and saw on the wall all the masks her husband wore when he traveled the sky. There was the sliver of the new moon, and masks growing larger, all the way to the great glowing mask of the full moon. She saw the space where the half-moon mask her husband was now wearing would hang. She said to herself, "I wonder how he feels, carrying the light on his face." She walked over, slowly took down the mask of the not-yet-full moon, and put it on her face. And it stuck. She pulled and pulled, but it stayed on her face. Just then she heard her husband returning. She ran to the bed and covered her head with the furs. When the moon entered the room and saw her like that, he said, "Wife, are you ill?" "I have a pain in my face," she said. He walked over to the room to put his mask away, lifted the blanket, and saw the place where a mask was missing. He returned to his wife, lifted the furs, and when he saw her, began to laugh and laugh. Gently he lifted the mask from her face. "Maybe you better tell me what else you have been up to today," he said. So she told him about the people with the glowing eyes, and how she had poked one of them with her foot. "Those are the stars," he said. "Do not bother them when they're working." "I can see that I have been wrong, and you have shown me that you can carry the masks as well as I. From now on, I will carry the masks from the new moon to the full, and you may carry them from the full to the dark." And so it has been to this day. Each month, the man and the woman share the task of carrying the moon's light through the sky.
The tale of Moon and his wife traveling across the sky in their changing masks reminds us that the moon seems to change its shape from night to night. The difference each night is small, but if you watch carefully, you can notice these changes. Astronomers call these changes the phases of the moon. Now we can hear a science story to explain why the moon behaves this way. Moon is Earth's constant companion in space, and yet it does not seem constant in its behavior. From one night to the next, it changes its place in the sky, and it seems to change its shape. On some nights, the moon is a bright sliver, hanging in the west like a thin fingernail. On others, it looks like half a circle. On other nights, the moon looks round and full. The moon shifts its place in the sky because it circles or it orbits the Earth. It takes about a month for the moon to orbit once around the Earth, and in that time, the moon appears to go once around the sky against a background of stars. And of course, the moon isn't really changing its shape at all. Like the Earth, the moon is a round ball of rock in space. It only appears to change its shape because we see different amounts of its sunny side as it circles the Earth. You can see that this is true if you imagine the moon to be a round, juicy orange that you can hold in your hand, and if you imagine that your round head is the entire Earth. Hold your hand out straight, and you've placed the moon orange in space. Now spin around, and you're letting the moon orange orbit your Earth head, just like the real moon does in space. Next, imagine that you are in a dark room, and the only light comes from a lamp in the far corner, sort of like the sun in space. Do you see that the lamp light falls in half your head, the half that faces the lamp, and that the other side of your head is in shadow? It is the same for the Earth. One half has daytime, while the other half has night. And the day and the night halves change as the Earth spins around. Now look at your moon orange. Do you see that it too has a sunny half and a dark half? The sunny half is facing the lamp, and the dark half faces away. Now, how much of the sunny half can you see? Well, it depends on where your moon orange is located. If you hold out the moon orange toward the sun lamp, then the sunny side is facing away from you, and you can only see the dark half of the orange. But if you turn around in exactly half of a circle, so that your head is between the sun lamp and your moon orange, and the light shines over your shoulder onto the orange, you can see the entire sunny side of the orange. If you swing around part way between these two positions, how much of the sunny side will you see? just a part of the sunny side, and how much depends on exactly where the moon orange is located as you swing it around. Now, imagine you are the Earth, covered with mountains and seas and polar caps, and let the orange in your hand become the moon. Let the moon swing around the Earth on an invisible string of gravity, and let the sun lamp grow distant and round and hot to become the real sun in space. Imagine that the moon now swings around the Earth to locate itself in the direction of the sun. What will you see from Earth? Nothing. For Moon is wearing his dark mask. He sits in the daytime sky with the sun, his sunny side facing away, and his shadowy side facing us. We call this phase new moon. We could also call it no moon, for we cannot see him in the sky. But as Moon moves in his orbit to other positions, we can start to see his sunny side. First, just a little crescent portion, then half of his sunlit part, then more, as if he changes his mask every night. After about 2 weeks, Moon will be on the other side of the Earth from the sun. As we look up at him in the night sky, the sun shining over Earth's shoulder, we can see the entire sunny part of the moon. He looks round and whole, and we call him the full moon. And his mask of sunlight completely covers his face. But Moon keeps moving around Earth, so we begin to see less and less of his sunny part as Moon's mask seems to change every night. Finally, after about 2 weeks more, Moon gets back to his place between the Earth and the sun, and we have new Moon again. And so it goes. Moon keeps moving. We see different amounts of his sunlit side from one night to the next. Phases and masks, masks and phases. The faithful Moon circles the Earth each month, bringing the pale sunlight he wears on his face to brighten our night and to remind us of the beauty to be found in the world, in the day and in the night. Go out and look for the moon. What mask is he wearing tonight?